Okay, I'm going to talk about one of the craziest things you've probably never heard of that I believe everything that I'm about to tell you 100% true fact. Okay, and like it can be proven to a point and you'll see where that point is when it starts getting into Atlantis, you can't prove that anymore. But follow me. So they find mammoths in Siberia that are frozen with grass still in their mouths from when they were eating in a field. And some of these mammoths were so perfectly preserved that in the 1800s, Henry Birdseye served them to his dinner guests. Do you know what it takes to do that? That was what Henry Birdseye was asking. That's, basically, you have to flash freeze it. That's the only way to fucking do that. So, like, that mammoth went from being in a field with flowers and shit to standing in the middle of Antarctica or some shit instantly and was frozen quickly. So quickly that it preserved it to be eaten 10,000 years later. So, my question to you is what in the fuck could do this? Well, I'm going to tell you what I think did this, what Albert Einstein thought did this, and a man called Charles Hapgood. He had a theory that was Earth crust displacement, where basically something happens, frees up the Earth's crust, and it shifts around. Where it ends up, nobody knows. A little bit, and it looks like the North Pole used to be over Hudson Bay, and when it shifted, the shift caused Siberia to go from being a Eurasian plain full of elephants to, like it is now overnight. And I think this same displacement is why Antarctica is covered in ice now. That didn't used to be where the pole is. That's proven. You can go look that up. What I'm saying is, whatever made that mammoth freeze is the same thing that froze Antarctica more than likely. So, what could have been on Antarctica? Like, there could have been a fucking civilization there for all we know. And I think it's very telling that the US military has major outposts in Antarctica that do God knows what. Penguin research? Yeah, right. There's something going on there. I think Atlantis, if there is any truth to that, if there is any of it left at all, it's down there in fucking Antarctica. And the thing that kills me is I've seen flags from the Middle East that what they have on the flag indicates they believe what I believe. That's very interesting to me. I'm not saying that I'm Muslim or whatever. What I'm saying is the Arabs know a greater truth or some shit that someone's trying to hide from us. I think like ISIS was a US government thing to go through the Middle East and destroy fucking evidence of shit. Both their own war crimes and whatever this is. I think there's a shitload of evidence, or was, in Iraq. I think that's one of the reasons why Saddam Hussein was so ballsy, was he thought he was like, you know, the second coming or some shit. He thought he was going to conquer the world because he had something. What did he have that was his quote unquote weapon of mass destruction? Okay. Like, let's say this polar shift thing did happen, and some of the people from the survivors of this shit did settle somewhere. Well, it looks like the places that they settled were highly likely these river valleys around the world India, Egypt, the Amazon, the Mississippi, and like they had various successes or whatever at building civilizations. But for whatever reason, the Mid East was the one that took off. I don't know what level of tech these people had. Like it could have been some crazy space people for all I know, because like the pyramids are crazy. Like the tech that went into building some of the shit in Egypt is insane. It mystifies us to this day. So like I don't know about ancient aliens or whatever, but like I think if you listen to the Greeks and the Egyptians, they said that there were some people that lived on an island that had an advanced civilization that went away 10,000 years ago. And I think there's evidence to believe that. I This is the shit that gets me is like why do we just assume that everyone is trying to lie to us at all times? Like I don't think Plato was trying to lie to you. Like was he telling a story with a greater truth about civilization and society? Yes. But some of the points that he made in that story came from Solon's trip to Egypt, and it's this lost ancient knowledge that no one has anymore. And they're trying to erase. And there's some little bits of it that are very difficult to erase because they're embedded in Western culture. So they make a mockery of them. And these are like the ancient aliens thing, the Atlantis thing, like E Honda. you know, there is some sort of truth to this. So what I'm telling you is like these mammoths exist. That Henry Birdseye story, that's true. The earth really did shift at some point and mammoths froze. Like I come up with another answer for that. Okay? And like if you look at the ice ages and what happened, there was a gigantic fucking ice sheet over North America, kind of like there is over Antarctica right now. It's almost like it had a pole over it. And Hapgood said that pole was centered over Hudson Bay, and honestly, that would make sense. And that would make Russia considerably warmer, and would throw Antarctica probably into a more Australia-ish like climate, I would think. So who knows what it was really like? It's pretty mountainous. The crazy part to me is where the fuck did the penguins come from? Like, that's a good question. Like, there are penguins in South Africa. Did there just used to be a bunch of seabirds everywhere, and like those are like the remainders of them, or what? Like it used to be a thing that like in the Ice Age, maybe penguins were more of a thing. That's weird though, isn't it? Or what if, you know, look at the tilt or whatever, but what if Australia is where the penguins came from? They followed the cold. Like, what if Australia used to be kind of an ice ball the way Antarctica is now? Could be. I have to look at the globe and see how that would work. But the penguins have a longer evolutionary process than 10,000 years. So my guess is that there was always some sort of cold place somewhere down there. But that's weird. And honestly, maybe it's one of those things that like those penguins were kind of like they were, and they've adapted to be in the super cold better than all the rest of the birds that were down there or some shit. It's interesting. Like I would like to hear an explanation for penguins. The ones in South Africa really open up the possibilities because, like, I think those things could be very much like what got stuck in Antarctica. And like as it got colder and colder and colder, they adapted to survive as things do. Either that or maybe there's a common ancestor or some shit like that. But like I'm guessing that there used to be a hell of a lot more birds in Antarctica. Because like look at New Zealand and Australia. Those were just full of birds before cats got introduced. That's why we have, strange ass birds from those places. Anyway, that's all I really had to say about this, but I thought this was worth making a video on because, like, this is a thing that most definitely happened. Like, find me a way other than that mammoth could have froze in a fucking sunny field. Like, the shit that they find in its mouth is akin to like prairie grass. What are those called? It's a weed in your yard. Dandelions. Like it's like dandelions and grass and shit in this thing's mouth. And it froze to death in less than 24 hours, probably, to be preserved like that. People talk about climate change. Let's talk about that shit. That shit seems like it might be real, you know, important to figure out. Because, like, what did that? What makes it happen? Is it about to do it again? That's my question. I think, if my theories are right and there are like some sort of aliens or a god that controls the universe, when we get all uppity and start building giant towers to the sky and fucking everything that moves and I think maybe they flip a switch and the earth resets. It's one of those things that if we are pond scum to them, they don't care what kind of pond scum is here. They don't even care that there is pond scum here. It just, when they empty the pond and refill it, the pond scum refills again. I think that's what humans are. I think we're an accident of some sort. At least on the part of whatever these things are. I think there's a greater creative force in the universe that, like, we could talk about that, but like, that's God. That's like the thing that makes cells work. That's not these things, whatever it is. I think there's like false gods that control a great many things about our planet. It's scary to think that that mammoth froze to death that fast. And we're hardier than mammoths, but not by much, really. Like we could easily be that mammoth. Well, I'm gonna end this here. I'm getting a phone call. I'll see you guys later.